during a lot of the hustings, there's always this issue of banning events, and I just wanted to bring that issue up here today and ask you, if you were to be elected, how would you deal with causes and campaigns that call for the banning of certain events, knowing the context that we are under and knowing how sensitive the issue really is?
Thank you for that question. We're going to start with Junaid, and then we'll go Sophie, and then Jethro. You'll have 1 minute to answer the question, and then we'll give you a warning at 30 seconds. Sorry.
So yes, of course, we need to be in line with the rules and regulations at SOAS. So therefore, we need to weigh up the odds, weigh up the negatives and positives, everything. We need to analyse this, and if we can make an event happen, then we'll go for it. But if it's going to cause commotion and break social cohesion, then I believe that it's not the right way to do things, because we need to come together as a team. So we need to come together as a team, and that's what I believe in, because SOAS is diverse. SOAS stands for diversity, and there's a lot of culture in here, and I do not want to see segregation, separation, and anything like that.
So I think we all know the kind of event that Mehdi is pointing towards here. People like Mark Redriff being given a platform at SOAS. Now for me, the number one thing, regardless of what position you hold, whether you hold the position at all, is about the safety of our students. I've been actively engaged in the welfare contacts and the Enough is Enough campaign and the anti-harassment campaigns that we need to extend here at SOAS. I don't want to shut down voices. I think it's valuable to listen to opinions we disagree with. I think it builds us as people, and it's the only way we can shape opinions of other people. But for those things to be held on on SOAS property, perhaps not the space. I think we should enable these discussions, not necessarily Mark Redriff, but we should enable controversial discussions to take place, but in spaces that enable all students, should they want to participate, to go, but more importantly, enable students who don't want anything to do with it to remain safe and happy on campus, because that's the number one priority for our Students' Union.
I think if I was put in a position where I had to make the final say on something like this, I'd find it quite difficult, but I think it's unlikely that that's going to happen. So I think my approach would be to make sure I'm listening to both sides and consulting with the student body and consulting with the other SABs at all times, and just kind of making sure that, because obviously there are certain events maybe that probably just never going to happen at SOAS because they know it's not going to fly at SOAS, but when it's more of a on the fence issue, I don't know, I'm going to just make sure that I'm listening to the views that I'm being told and making sure I'm, again, being transparent about it.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, I've kind of forgotten whose hands were up. I think we were down here next. And then,
Sorry, there's a mouse. It's really distracting. There's a mouse and it's really distracting. Disgusting. It's really weird. Don't grab with your hands.
Or if it's important to you to make your events and activities this year more accessible, especially for disabled students, especially events that take place off campus where some buildings may be a lot less accessible for people who have both visible and invisible disabilities.
okay, so the order this time will be Sophie, then Jethro, then Jeanette.
Okay, so a couple of things. Firstly, for the off-campus events, I know things like Piccadilly Institute want particularly accessible events. I think a really good system. We don't hold that many off-campus events, so I don't think it'd be a difficult thing to have those events double-checked, but also to run them by yourselves. I mean, unless Ron beats you in the elections, like you're probably going to be, so to have those things run by you and just to have it like double-checked, just go that little extra mile. I think that's really important. But also, as I mentioned earlier in my speech, this idea of risk assessments. So I think we need to include in risk assessments something that's really important about accessibility, right? Because that's like a core risk is that people can't attend your event, or that people do attend your event and their physical or emotional or health well-being is compromised. So I think we need to include that in our risk assessments, and we need to educate presidents and societies that they need to include, and they need to go through those checks. So you have to hold training sessions for societies about how to make sure their events all remain accessible. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So I think, first of all, just don't book an event if it's not an accessible venue. In terms of at SOAS, I think we need to have a think about how we can improve access into the building. So, for example, coming up the stairs, they've got a ramp, but I mean, in terms of going into the JCR, there can be sometimes issues with access, and just making sure that that doesn't disrupt the flow, as in flow of someone who might need mobility assistance. If there's too many people, we need a way to work around that. So I guess maybe having a talk with experts on this and employing people, if necessary, to kind of help move the crowd if there's people who need assistance getting through. I think maybe you meant more than just people with physical disability. I think in that case, we just need to make sure that all events are queer-friendly, all events are friendly to, like, every group, if you know what I mean, like, just so kind of holding us to account, like, if there's an issue with an event not being accessible, making sure that we know about it and we can deal with it before it's too late.
So I've said I want to make events and activities all-inclusive for everyone. That includes disability students. So therefore, if there's events that are not on campus, we need to make sure there's transport for them. And also, if there's events, for example, entering the building, then we have ramps for that. But however, the JCR and also health and safety issues, we need to do a risk assessment. It's not just entering the building and the ramps, we need to do a risk assessment for anything that might be of harm. And also, it gets congested in the JCR. So we need to give them an alternative as well.
Okay, so there's a question over here, and then we're going to go up to Monique at the back.
So something that a couple of you have mentioned in your speeches and is part of your job description, how do you plan on making sports something that is held mostly off campus and at various different venues that can range from an hour-away transport to buses? How do you plan on making sport more inclusive within the student union and getting more of the SOAS societies, different groups to get involved and get everybody else involved?
So Jethro first.
Yeah, there were two questions, right? The first was about off-campus venues for practicing and training and that. Okay, so I guess, I'll be honest, I don't know about the venues, but if someone were to hand me a paper with a list, then that would be great. Otherwise, I'll do the research myself. So just making sure that we're getting in contact with them early so they don't get booked up by other universities and other organisations. So I guess that would be really important. And the second question was, about making it accessible. So I guess, I have body confidence issues myself, and I've kind of shied away from sport as a result of that. So I kind of want it to be clear that there are casual sports sessions for people who don't necessarily feel sporty enough to try out for a big team, but also not letting that harm the teams who are trying to compete with other universities.
For sports, we need to promote sports, push it more. We need a trophy cabinet. What have SOAS achieved? And we need to, and also off campus, like Jeff said, get to them early. We want SOAS to be involved. And also in campus as well, we need to get it buzzing, sports. I walk through the passage, I don't see trophies, I don't know what SOAS has achieved. Yeah, I want that up there.
30 seconds.
I want to see that, I want to see what SOAS is capable of. And also, you might not like sports, but you never know, give it a try. But the thing is, I feel like that SOAS, there's not it's not out there enough, sports. I can't see it for myself. It's not in the passage. When I go to the undergrad room, it's not there. JCR, it's not there. So pictures, posters, just to promote it. Just to say, yes, we are a sporting university. And we mean business to other universities.
Time.
As your current co-sports officer, this is obviously something I hold incredibly close to my heart. Sports to me is it's like a family. It sounds really corny, but I submitted all my transfers to Bath the first Christmas of my first year at SOAS. I hated it, there wasn't enough going on, and I basically found the women's football team and I found home. It sounds disgustingly corny, but I really did. And they're an incredible group of women, and what sport can provide in terms of community and in terms of extracurricular events and just this sense of well-being, and we look after each other, and I think that's really important. I think on top of that, we need to, as you said, to extend that beyond the competitive realm. So I started a mixed hockey team in my second year. It was a bit of a mission. It's going relatively well. If anyone wants to play, let me know. It's going really well, and that's really important. But also to run recreational sport, we need people to lead it. Those people are the captains of our competitive teams. So I think as part of the role, I need to lead and take on the responsibility for recreational sport. So more people can get involved, it's more accessible.
Okay, and there was one question from Monique.
So after Freshers, Black History Month is quite a pretty big deal. So I just want to know how you're going to make Black History a massive part of activities and events, and hopefully longer than a month.
So Jeanette, you'll be first, then Sophie, then Jethro.
Well, Black History Month, I want to get the whole university involved. As I said, I want to do the SOAS space. It's not used properly. The green space out there, we can do a marquee, hold the marquee for as long as, well, it's up to you. So I want your opinions on this. So hold a marquee there. I want endorse it properly, promote it properly. I want every student to know about it. I want everyone to be up there, and I just want everyone to get involved with it.
30 seconds. Yeah, Sophie.
So I think for me, this is about knowing when to take a back seat and shut up, basically. It's not my month. It's for people. It's for other people. And I think the most important thing there is about being a facilitator. And that's what a lot of this role really is. It's not actually about taking the driving seat, but it's about taking a back seat, handing over the keys and saying to people, what do you need? Do you need people to put out publications so that they know your events are going? Do you need them to go up on the calendar in the JCR? Do you need it to go out and need all students' email? Do you need funding? Do you need venues? What do you need? Let me help you do the kind of the boring work, the emailing venues, the chasing people up, the making sure we've got the funds to do your events. But really, this needs to be led by students, for students. And in terms of continuing it over a month, I think we should have some sort of monthly, so that's every Monday of the month, every Tuesday of the month, something that celebrates the diversity and the A in SOAS.
So, like Sophie said, I think my role will be more of a facilitator than a principal organiser, but that doesn't mean that I won't make the most of the contacts I have in London as a network to kind of make sure that I can connect people with the right people to put on the events and put on the kind of whole month and then more that they need and that they want. So I think, again, it's kind of about listening. It's kind of about making sure that I'm doing the admin and making the most of and celebrating Black History Month
30 seconds.
Throughout the year and more.
Okay, so that's 4 questions, and give a big hand to the